Because you married someone successful, Ryan said, and I couldn't figure out how to tell you that he no longer existed. Britney looked at Ryan for a long time. Then she walked over, pulled out the chair beside him, and sat down. Not across from him, beside him. That small, quiet movement told me more about who she actually was than 6 years of Thanksgiving dinners ever had. You are still that person, Britney said firmly. You are just also this one. And this one needed to ask for help. Ryan looked at her. Something in his face shifted the way a sky shifts right after a storm passes. He reached over and took her hand. I looked away. Some moments don't belong to an audience. I drove home the same 42 miles. The November sky had cleared. I thought about Margaret the whole drive. I thought about how I had tried in my clumsy way to do both, push and sit beside someone. Thought about that Thanksgiving table. Britney's question, my glass hitting the table, Ryan's silence. And I thought about the fact that sometimes the most important thing a parent can do is not protect their child from the consequences of their choices, but stand close enough that when the consequences arrive, the child doesn't face them alone. Pulled into my driveway, went inside, put on some jazz. Margaret always said I woke up early because I was afraid the world would start without me. But sitting there that evening in the quiet of my house with the music filling up the corners of every room, I wasn't afraid of anything. For the first time in 8 months, I had put the weight down. And Lord, did it feel good to finally just sit. If you like this story, join our community by hitting that like button and subscribing for more real, raw, and family-centered stories. I paid for a house that wasn't mine. I kept a secret that wasn't mine to keep. And I sat quietly at a Thanksgiving table while my daughter-in-law looked me dead in the eyes and called me the person everyone hates. But I want you to know that was actually the easy part of my evening. Welcome back. Grab your snacks, get comfortable, and remember, the people in these stories had every chance to behave themselves. They just chose wrong. If you enjoy these tales of family secrets and quiet revenge, be sure to subscribe. I have attended 41 Thanksgiving dinners in my life. I have survived burnt turkeys, passive-aggressive aunts, and worse opinions than I care to remember. I thought I had seen everything. I had not. Before I tell you what happened, you need to understand something about my daughter-in-law, Britney. She isn't a villain. She is something far more complicated. Britney had made a sweet potato casserole with marshmallows on top. I want to be fair, but those marshmallows were burnt. The sweet potatoes were somehow both undercooked and mushy. Yet, she placed it at the center of the table like it was the crown jewel of culinary achievement. Brit, this looks amazing, my son Ryan said, beaming like a man who had never once told the truth about food. Ryan has been lying to that woman since the day he met her. That's between him and God. I said nothing. I took a small portion, moved it around my plate, and smiled the way you smile when you're 71 years old and you've learned that some battles are not worth the ammunition. My other son, Derek, was there with his wife, Carol. My grandchildren were at the kids' table, completely unbothered by the adult world. Lucky them. My sister Patricia was there too, already on her second glass of Chardonnay. And then there was Britney. Britney, who had opinions about everything and knowledge of almost nothing. Britney, who once told me she didn't trust people who liked jazz. I liked jazz. We talked about the usual things, football, the weather. Ryan barely looked up from his plate. That should have been my first warning. But warnings only make sense in hindsight. In the moment, they just look like a quiet man eating turkey. Ryan is my oldest, 43 years old. He has my eyes, and unfortunately, my stubbornness. He loves me, I know he does. But loving someone and being comfortable around them are two very different things. Britney, on the other hand, was talkative. She kept steering the conversation back to their neighborhood, their friends, their life. Always performed like we were an audience she was trying to impress. I drank my wine. I ate my turkey. And then it happened. Britney looked directly at me from across the table. She had a particular look. It was the look she got when the wine had finally given her the nerve. "You know, Lucas," Britney said, loudly enough for the whole table to hear. I've been thinking. God help us all, I thought. I think that you, she paused, glancing around like she was about to deliver a punchline, are genuinely the person that everyone in this family complains about the most. She laughed. Nobody joined her. She pushed forward anyway. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "How does it even feel to be the person everyone kind of hates?" The table went silent, the kind of silent where you can hear the candles burning. Patricia's wine glass stopped halfway to her mouth. Derek made a sound like he'd swallowed a spoon, and Ryan, my son Ryan, said nothing. He looked at his food. He picked up his fork. He put it back down. He did not look at me, and that more than anything Britney said is the thing I will carry about that moment, not her words, his silence. Because there is a specific kind of hurt that only your child can deliver. It is administered not through what they do, but through what they choose not to do. Ryan chose not to do anything. I sat with it for exactly 4 seconds. Then I reached out very calmly and set my wine glass down. I didn't slam it. I set it down the way you set something down, when you want your hands to be completely free. "Britney," I said evenly, "let me ask you something." "Okay," she said, cautious now. "How would you feel," I said slowly, "if you found out today, not tomorrow, today, that you were homeless?" Nobody breathed. "What?" Britney said, blinking. "If you went home tonight," I continued calmly, "and discovered that the house you live in, the roof over your head, the address on your driver's license, all of it was just gone. How would that feel?" "Lucas, what are you even talking about? I'm asking you a question." "You asked me one? I'm asking you one." The laugh died. She looked across at Ryan. Ryan didn't look confused. He looked terrified. "Dad," Ryan said. His voice was low. "A warning, or maybe a plea. I'm just making conversation," I said pleasantly, and picked my wine glass back up. Britney's smile was completely gone. In its place was fear, the real kind. She already knew something was wrong. She didn't know what. But somewhere underneath all that performance, Britney already knew that the foundation of her life was not as solid as she had been led to believe. I had just confirmed it. Now I should tell you what I knew. I had been carrying this secret alone for 8 months. It started on a cold March afternoon when Ryan sat across from me in my kitchen, red-eyed and ashamed, and told me everything. Here's something nobody tells you about keeping a secret for 8 months. It doesn't get lighter, it gets heavier. Every single day, it adds another pound. The morning after Thanksgiving, my phone rang. It was Derek. "Dad, is something going on with Ryan?" "You should ask Ryan that," I said. "I'm asking you." "Derek, there are things that aren't mine to tell. What I will tell you is this. Pay attention over the next few days." By 6:53, Ryan was calling, "Dad." Ryan's voice came through rough. He hadn't slept. "Ryan," I said, "what were you doing last night?" "I was having Thanksgiving dinner with my family. The turkey was excellent. The sweet potato casserole was not." "This isn't funny," Ryan said sharply. "No," I agreed quietly. "It really isn't." "She's asking questions," Ryan finally said. "I imagine she is." "Dad, I need you to just—" "No," I said it quietly, but I said it once. "Ryan, I have done everything you asked me to do for 8 months. I have kept my mouth shut. I have watched you patch holes in a sinking boat and tell your wife the water on the floor is from a spilled glass. I am done with that silence. The mortgage payment bounced in March. I covered it. I covered April and May and every single month since then because you asked me to, and I love you, and I was a fool who thought you were about to fix it yourself." "How much does she know?" Ryan asked. "Nothing." "Ryan, how much does Britney know?" "She knows we've been financially tight." I almost laughed. Almost. "Son, you are not tight, you are underwater. There is a difference between a belt and a tourniquet. I have a plan," he started. "You've had a plan since March." The silence that followed was the longest one yet. This quiet between a father and his son is the real center of this entire story. A man who had been drowning for 8 months, and a father who had been holding his head above water in secret. And the moment when the father finally, gently, let go. "Ryan," I said, softer now, "I'm not doing this to punish you, but I cannot keep Paying for a life you haven't been honest about. Not with your wife. Not with yourself. It stops this month. I heard something on his end that I think he didn't mean for me to hear. It might have been crying. My son is 43 years old and stubborn as concrete, and I cannot tell you what it does to a father to hear that sound come through a phone on a gray Friday morning. "Okay," Ryan said finally. Barely a word. "Okay," I said back. Ryan told her on a Sunday. Britney called me herself at 9 p.m. She didn't yell. Her voice was flat and very small, completely stripped of all the performance I had watched for 6 years. "How long?" Britney asked. Me quietly. 8 months, I said. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because he's my son. And I thought he'd fix it. I was wrong about that. And I'm sorry. Are we going to lose the house?" she asked. Direct, clear. It was the most I had ever liked her. Not if. "We handle this correctly," I said. "Okay," Britney said. Same word Ryan had used, same exhausted, stripped-down syllable. The Monday after Thanksgiving, I drove the 42 miles to Ryan's house. I didn't call ahead. Some conversations need to happen in person, unannounced. Britney opened the door before I knocked. She looked younger, without all the performance. Smaller, more like a person. Ryan was at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee he wasn't drinking. He looked up when I walked in. Surprise, relief, guilt, and then plain exhaustion. "So," Britney said, looking between me and Ryan, "what happens now?" I reached into my jacket pocket and put a folded piece of paper on the table. "It's a number," I said. "The exact total of what I've covered over 8 months. Mortgage payments, the insurance gap, the property tax." Ryan closed his eyes briefly. "I'm not collecting it," I said clearly. "I am not here for repayment. That money is gone. But I needed you both to see the number because you cannot fix what you refuse to look at." Britney unfolded the paper. I watched the stillness come over her, the particular stillness of someone doing math in their head and not liking any of the answers. "Ryan," Britney said quietly. "I know," Ryan said back. He wasn't looking at either of us. "Look at me," Britney said. And he did slowly. "The way you look at someone when you are genuinely ashamed and there's nowhere left to hide." "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. Not angry. Something worse than angry. Genuinely wounded. "Why did you let your father carry this instead of just telling me?" Ryan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that cracked something open in that room that no argument ever could have.